feed 1 billion people in the next 10 years. It took 37 years to do 42 billion. I started out by saying, well, what if I did as many people I've done in my lifetime in the next 10 years? What if I did as many people in a lifetime in 1 year? And then I was like, what if we did 100 million people in a year? What if we did 100 million people a year for 10 years and fed 1 billion meals right here in the United States? And I got so ignited by that, Alex, that it was more than, it wasn't money, it wasn't business, it wasn't success, it wasn't, okay, there's the system. It was like, I have to rip apart. If it took me 37 years to 42 million, to go to 1 billion is gonna require me to think differently, come up with strategy different, be different, and to think of 1 billion lives. That number somehow brought a different level of life. It's kind of like Kennedy saying, we're gonna go in this decade and we're gonna land on the moon and bring a man back to the earth. And all the guys at NASA are like, bullshit, right? This is not gonna happen, right? We don't have technology to do it. I don't care, this is what we're gonna do. There's something about building a moonshot for contribution on outside even what you've done in business. And I did it, I said I'd do it in 10 years, I did it in 8 years. So then I finished that and was like, I'm traveling around the world, you see people starving, it's just trying to do what you're gonna do. It's like, no, I need something bigger. So I was in the UAE, and I had a lunch with MBZ, who's the head of the country, brilliant man. And he calls me the next day and goes, I wanna have lunch with you again. I'm like, that's cool, I'm happy to do that, right? So I come sit down with him and he goes, I brought you lunch today because there's 2 people feeding the most people on earth and they should know each other. So he introduced me to Governor Beasley, who ran the World Food Program for the UN, right? So I said, well, I think he's doing more than me, he said. And so we talked, he later won the Nobel Prize, but we stayed in relationship. And because of our relationship, he got so frustrated with the bureaucracy of the UN that one day he said, Tony, I'm just gonna leave the UN. Because during his 5 years, we went from 80 million people at verge of starvation to 385 million people. But just think of those numbers. You have to think of them as, if you just think of as numbers, it doesn't, but if you follow like one child starving, it'll change the, that system to something more ethereal. It's like watching a movie. Watch a movie about war, it's too much. When you follow one person and what they go through, you feel it. So I got associated with that and I said to him, what if we create a strike force team? If you're gonna leave, how many meals would it take to feed everybody in the world for 10 years that need it, where it would give us time to build a sustainable solution? Because you can't keep doing the same crap, right? And he goes, Tony, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 billion meals? I said, let's do a 100 billion meal challenge. I said, I did 1 billion meals. When I started, I wasn't a billionaire. I've been blessed, obviously, since that time. You do great work. If you bless others, you'll be blessed, right? I wasn't doing it for that reason. It just came about. So I said, well, there's got to be 90 more guys like me in the world. There's 3,000 billionaires or owners of companies or countries that'll do this. So we did this 100 billion meal challenge, and we went to Forbes 400. And I thought, we're going to get 50 of these guys, right? The richest people in the world. 4 people stood up. 4. I'm like, this is not working. We're gonna do something different. But I won't bore you with all the details. The strategy, the thought process, and what kept me going though is it's not just having this unreasonable goal, it's having strong enough emotional reasons. And I got in these environments where people are starving. I got in the Sudan, there were 1 million people cut off by the rebels there. And they were starving them out. This is just this last year. And the UN sent all these food people in and they killed the drivers and took the food. MBS, not MBZ, MBS from Saudi Arabia, cares deeply. He tried to provide things. They killed everybody. So people stopped giving money, these people are gonna starve. So I said, no, there's something different. I said, I'm just putting a line in the sand. We are gonna feed these people. I'm gonna provide enough food for 1 million people in a week. Who will match me? And I got Ray Dalio to match me. Pretty soon I had $40 million. But how are you gonna do it? And this is where it gets so alive. It's like, no one else in the world's done it. We're gonna do this. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hire I'm gonna find some military contractors. We're gonna take C-130s and we're gonna take drones and we're gonna deliver the food to the people. We delivered 22,000 meals that month and saved all these people starving to death. So when you do that, your level of fulfillment explodes. What the fuck compared to running a business? Right. It's not even the same. And so I've been hooked on that. So now we got 62 billion meals in 3 years, which is beyond anybody ever thought was humanly possible. And then so now I said we're gonna do a song with We Are the World, and I got Jimmy Jam, the most successful Grammy guy, and I got everybody you can imagine in the music business all building it together. We just completed our first version of that. And then, I'm lucky enough, like you, I'm very blessed. So I have a private plane, I have a 737, it burns a lot of carbon. I want to be conscious. How many trees does that burn? It's 3,000 trees a year. I'm like, I'll plant 100 million trees, but not just plant the trees. I'm gonna plant 100 million trees and I'm gonna work with the farmers and we're gonna show them how to go from making $1 a day to $12 a day by having 12, and I work with a group to do that. It's like, You know, a friend of mine's daughter was kidnapped and put into slavery, just insanity. It happens in America, it happens overseas, and nobody wants to talk about trafficking. But that got me associated to it. We actually helped somebody, and so I went out undercover. I had markings all over my face. They had a makeup person, they had scars on my face. I helped them negotiate these deals with these animals that do this. It's the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life, but also the most beautiful. But again, I didn't just give money. I didn't just write something. I just didn't put something. I went in the fucking trenches, and I'm sitting there watching these girls go through the worst thing on earth, meaning they're chained to a bed to do 8 or 10 tricks a day, and then we get them freed. We brought them to this house. They'd never been out there. They're out on the ocean. They're down here playing basketball. They're like the change in their lives, and saw that I'm hooked. So my wife and I have now funded 72,000. Started with 30,000. As many. I grew up in a town of 30,000 people. I want to free that many children, as big as the city I grew up in. Now we're at 72,000. I'm going tonight. We'll probably raise $5 million tonight. I'll do matching funds for everybody at the event to do it. So what I'm trying to say to you is, get off your ass. And I love you and I respect you, Alex. I'm not coming from that place. I hope you know where I'm coming from. You've accomplished more than most people dream in their lifetime, and I respect that. But when I say get off your emotional ass, stop this fuck happiness shit. And just actually say to yourself, no, I deserve happiness. I'm going to create happiness, but I have to do it differently than I've done it before. I can't just get up and just work because I'm trained to work. I'm not a fucking robot anymore.